So interesting fact, over 95% of all websites use HTML, which makes it the foundational language of the web, of course. And almost all web browsers use HTML. This ensures that all websites can be accessed by virtually anyone. But what's the HTML's programmer's favorite part of the web? Of course, the body. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Norbert's Web Development School. I'm Norbert, I teach web development, and this is a straightforward HTML crash course, hands-on. We're not going to go over too many definitions. We're just going to get started. First of all, about learning about what HTML stands for. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and is the standard language for creating websites. It describes the structure of a web page. So you have to think about a web page which has a sort of a structure, and a body, it has feet, footer. Of course, there are HTML tags, and the internet uses that information in order to illustrate to us what the coder wanted to transmit the viewer, the user of the web page. So in order to do that, we use HTML elements, also called tags. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. Now, in order to write HTML, you can also use Notepad. I wouldn't recommend it because we have something different. We have something fast, and that is Visual Studio Code, also known as VS Code. This is part of this crash course, is part of a bigger series that I'm creating here on YouTube that is learning web development from basically nothing. It is a playlist. You can find it down in the description. Also, you're going to find the entire code in the video description and a step-by-step rundown on my blog page. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just post one link and you're going to find everything there. So let's get started. If you don't have Visual Studio Code installed, pause this video right here. Go to my YouTube channel. Just click on me there. You're going to find how to install Visual Studio Code. You're also going to find a video on how to set up Visual Studio Code for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Go through those videos and come back to this one. If you already have it installed, or if you're using a other programming language, fine with me. Let's get started. We're just going to create a folder on our desktop. Never create folders on your desktop. This is just for showing purposes only. So I'm going to call it code. Doesn't have any kind of special name. Code. Drag and drop it in here. Visual Studio Code. And let's get started by first of all creating a file that will run HTML. Well, a file that has the extension of HTML. Now, by doing this, go in here, create a file. Call it. I just double clicked in there. You can also use this little icon file. And usually the main page, because a website is structured from out of multiple pages, but we're going to create only one now, and we're going to call it the index.html. Now the dot, after the dot, is the extension. You're telling the browser, Visual Studio Code, your operating system, what type of file this is. So the .html, obviously it's recognizing here it by its icon, is the usual way to describe or to create a web page file. Okay, so let's hit enter, and there we go. We're already in here. If you're not, then just double click in here. Now I'm going to write out, there's also a shortcut for this word. I'm going to write out and explain each and every tag that are basically essential for an HTML page. Now in 2025, actually for a couple of years now, we're using something called HTML5, and it has a specific doc type. So in order to use it, you're going to do a shift and opening. This is how you open a tag. Each thing that I'm writing here is a tag. Now tags have also attributes, they have IDs, they have classes, so far and so on. But for now, we're going to use only tags. So the doc type, as you can always see there, is then shift and 1 for exclamation mark, and then type out using capital case doc type, and then HTML. Okay, we're going to close this one up. Now this is the only tag that is defined this way, because usually a tag has a opening and a closing tag, excepting a couple of tags out there. They are self-closing tags. So first of all, let's create here a opening tag for the next HTML tag that we need, and that is the head. Now the head is everything that we don't see in the web page, and the body is everything that we do see in the web page. Why don't we see it as readers? Because there's specific information that the web page is receiving and reading in order to know what to do with that web page. So let's first of all create that opening head tag. I'm going to close it up here. Now this is due to the fact that I'm using some extensions automatically closing. Here I have an auto closer. Just check out the previous videos. You're going to understand why this is happening. But nevertheless, I created a opening head tag and a closing head tag. The difference is that the closing tag has this / in it, or backslash. I want to view it. Now between these tags, we can write different tags. Now most of the tags that are included in a head tag are meta tags, title tags, link tags, and script tags. Mostly these are the tags that are included in a head tag. So basic information that the web page needs in order to know from where it's getting its information, what type of, for example, let's create a meta tag, meta, and this is going to, I'm just going to close it here. Now The meta tag is one of the tags that's going to be self-closing. So I'm going to close it here, meaning that it doesn't have a closing tag. So it's a self-closing tag. Okay, let's hit save. Now in this tag, I'm going to add an attribute, and that attribute will be char set. The char set is actually the character set. And we're going to use here UTF-8, or the UTS. UTF-8 is the character encoding standard for electronic communications. And that is defined by the Unicode standard. Now it's 8 because it's reading 8 zeros, and then it has to have a white space. That's it. I'm not going to go into details. As I said, not too many definitions. So first things first, we have to define what kind of coding set we're using. So we're using the standard of 8. Next, we're going to create another meta tag. We're going to call meta, and we're going to add to this the name attribute, and this is going to look for the viewport. Now in this viewport, we want, also let me close it right here. In the viewport, we want the content to be displayed with a width that is equal to the device. But I'm going to be fancy here and tell it that is minus the width. Next, comma, the comma has to be in here to the quotations. We want the initial scale of the website to start at 1.0. I'm going to show you something really quick. Let's say I have here Google open. Now if you hold down Control, scroll, or type on the plus arrow here, then you're going to zoom in. Now this is the scale of 1.0. Okay, so you're starting at 1.0. If you want to increase it, and start at the larger scale. You can also decrease it. Can't say anything anymore. But this is basically what the scale stands for. Okay. Next up, we need a title. So as I just showed you, each and every website has a title, and the title is right up here. You can see this. It's Google, and it also has an icon. We can add icons and titles. But in order for this title to icons later on, in order for this title to be displayed, we need to tell it somewhere. And let's go here and open a title tag. Close it up. Now this also has a closing tag, and whatever I type in here will be displayed as the title of my web page. So you know what? I'm going to just type in here Norbert. The difference, I can't type my name correctly. And this web page, which should almost already be working, only missing one more thing, will have the title of Norbert. Now the last thing that we need is after the head tag is a body tag. So let's create a body tag, close it up, the opening and closing tag. Now whatever I type in here into the body will be displayed on my web page. Everything else will not be displayed. So I'm going to start up with a title of the web page. Usually the largest element on a web page is an H1. The title, well, not title, but it's the largest element on a web page, and it signifies the title of the web page content. So not the title of the page, but the title of the web page content. So I'm going to type in here my title. You can also type in hello world. Now one last thing is missing here. So we have a doctype of HTML. We had a head, we have a body, but everything that I type in here needs to be typed into one single tag that's going to surround everything right after the HTML doctype, and that is the HTML tag. So we're going to type in here right after the doctype a HTML tag. This is going to create an open and closing tag. I'm going to drag everything that I have here, copy it. Now you can do the following things. You can Control X, cut it out, Control Paste, or Control Z. You can hold down, this is in Visual Studio Code, Alt, then the arrow button upwards, and this is going to move it up. Okay, so just showed you a little trick here. So my web page is done. Let's try it out. I'm going to minimize my Visual Studio Code, go into my folder here, and I don't know, Windows or a Mac, you should see now the icon. Let me zoom this fellow in, that it has now a Google Chrome icon, because this is my default browser. And if I double click this icon, boom, my web page is open. The title of my web page content is my title, and the page name, the title of the page up here, is Norbert. Now, if I would change something, make this a bit larger, also let me zoom in here, change in my title, let's say hello world, hit save, nothing happened. I have to refresh the page. So if I refresh the page, then the page is working. Now there's a little thing called live server in Visual Studio Code. If you watch my previous video, you already have it installed. It's down here. If not, and if you're using Visual Studio Code, then right here in extensions, search for live server, and you should see this little fellow, live server. There's uninstall, install it. If it doesn't work, just restart your application Visual Studio Code. If you have the latest version, it should work automatically. And you should always see it down here, this go live appear. Now when you're, okay, I'm going to close this one up, close this one up. When you are in a HTML file, you could do two things. So you have to be in there, you have to be active. You either click on go live or right click, open with live server. Each thing will do the same thing. Each action will do the same thing. It's going to open up the live server. So here's my Norbert, here is my hello world, and now I'm going to change the title to my website, hit save, and look at this Norbert right here, and it automatically changed. So hello world, my website, and the other one that I have open, nothing happened here. I have to hit refresh, then it also changes. Okay. Now I could close this one up because basically we're serving this website using our server. So this should already work, and I'm going to drag and drop it right here to the side. Now we're going to code. Okay, so let's recap. You're going to define the type of HTML that you're using, because there's an older version, this is mandatory. Then you need the HTML tag, and didn't mention this, depending in which language you're writing your code, now you need to include up here into HTML a language, lang, that equal, open and close quotation marks, and en for English. Okay, if you're writing in something else, in German, DE, I don't know the other ones. French is FR, for Indian, I have to check it. Wait a second. No, sorry, it's for Hindi. Sorry. I knew that. Jesus, you know what? Here's where you can find all languages. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to link it up. Actually, it's on VS School and Hindi. It's on H. Come on, did I miss it? Oh my god, I missed A. I don't know my alphabet. MH. There we go. It's HI. Who would have guessed it? So there we go. That's the way you're going to tell the website in which language the web page was written in, and the browser will then automatically know how to read it. Now, I just wrote all of this code, so you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, do I have to start each and every website like this? No. I'm going to select everything, delete it, and just hold down Shift and 1, which is the shortcut for everything that I just wrote. Okay, so Shift exclamation 1. If you have this bug that it does not work, then I have a video on this. It's going to explain, just search it in my channel. It's why that does not work, that exclamation mark. It's a couple of settings, but usually it does work. So once again, if I hit here, save, you're going to see document and nothing in here. So let's just create a H1, my first website, hit save, and there we go. Okay, so this is working. And it's also running live server. If you want to stop your live server, just have to click on this little fellow. It will stop it. Want to restart it, then click on that once more and going to restart your live server. So let's recap there very quickly. The doc type, this declares and defines the document type and the version of HTML that you're using. It ensures the browser knows to render the page in a standardized mode. The HTML and language EN is the root element of an HTML document, and the language is English. As you can see, the attribute defines in which language specific to the document was written in. The head tag is element that contains meta information about the HTML document, such as its title and the characteristic sets of that document. The meta char set, UTF-8, this tag is specific to the charter encoding for HTML elements or HTML documents, ensuring that it is displayed with a width range of characters correctly. Okay, and also the next one, the name with viewport and the width and the scale. This meta tag ensures that the web page is responsive by setting the viewport to match the device width with the initial zoom level set to 1. So you're not going to make your website responsive, you're just going to tell it that it will be responsive. For that, you need CSS. Okay, now the title tag right here, this element sets the title of the HTML document, which is displayed, as you can see right here, in the browser with the title bar. So documents, let's change it to website, something like that. Okay, so let's change. Now the body tag is the element that contains the content of the HTML page, and the H1 is the heading element that displays a level 1 heading with the text that you're going to type in between the tags. Now, very quick about H elements. They're from 1 to 6. So I'm just going to copy this and and I'm going to change this to 2. Remember, you need to change both of them to 2. Okay. This little fellow just changed the closing tag because I have an auto tag renamer. It's an extension. Here we go. What am I doing here? Auto tag renamer and auto tag closer. Those are the two extensions. I already talked about them back in the other video, so please check them out. It's going to automatically close your tags. You're writing an opening tag, is going to move your cursor between them, and the renamer will automatically rename. So I'm going to change this to 3, this to 4, this to 5, this to 6, and you're going to be deleted, and hit save, and there we go. H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and if I type in a H7, it does not exist. Okay, so nothing happens. It's going to rewrite itself exactly as a paragraph tag. I will change this and change it to a paragraph tag. Then it's going to be the same size as the paragraph. So there's nothing, there's nothing after a H6 size-wise for heading tags. Okay, let's go to chapter 2, which is adding content to your HTML document. So we got our heading tags here. Now let's talk about the paragraph tag. I showed you. So this right here is the paragraph tag. You just hit P and write out your content between those two tags, and it's going to be a paragraph. Now there's a dummy text built into almost each code editor. Type in lorem, also ipsum. There is a ip. Come on, some. That is a dummy text. The shortcut in Visual Studio Code is just to type in lorem, but the full definition is lorem ipsum dollar sit amet. It's in Latin and it doesn't mean anything. It's just a dummy text with what you can. You're not going to get any copyright strikes. Let's just say it's copyright free. This dummy text. You can also find a lorem ipsum generator. Is going to, depending on how much lorem you want to type in. So let's say lorem, and this is working in VS Code automatically. I type in lorem 5 500. It's going to give me 500 words from lorem ipsum. Oh my god, that's so much. But yes, that's how it works. Okay, now in here, crazy. I'm going to leave it this way. Now Control Z, and let's just do a simple lorem ipsum. There we go. Okay, next up, let's use the image tag img. Hit enter. This is a self-closing tag. You can see it here by the backslash of the element, and this tag is used to display images. Now you can see there's nothing displayed here. If I type something in here, that's nothing. If I type something in the alt here, is my photo, it's going to display my photo with that little broken photo image. Now this means that the source is right here, not found. So in order to use here photo, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to copy the Google image. So if you go to google.com, right click, copy or save as. I'm going to go to our desktop and save it into code under Google image. Now you can save it as a PNG file or a JPEG file. So let's just save it so you know all see it. So there's our image. Usually you have it in a folder called images in a regular website. You have it in your public folder and so on. So we're just going to leave it here for Google. Now this is very important. When you're adding a source, dot / dot, because you're defining here the source, dot means look in the current directory. / is the first step of any kind of path. For example, if I go to Google Maps, you're going to see that I did a google.com / search Google plus maps, blah, blah, blah. So the / and also this is HTTPS hypertext transfer protocol secured. That's what the S stands for. You see a website without the S is most likely not secured. You shouldn't touch it. Then colon / /. So those are paths. So you're going to tell this that what we're searching for is right here. So it's GOOGLE. And now you need to type out the extension. So if you have a JPEG, type out JPEG. If you have a PNG, then you need to type out PNG. Hit save, and we should see now our Google image. Now you can see that the text is no longer appearing. So if I do here, I break this, see that my text is appearing. I'm going to rename this to Google. It's saved. Now, why is this text important? The alternative text is the text that is being displayed where the image is missing. So when we're searching in our website, oh my god, there's an image missing. What kind of image is missing? We're kind of telling ourselves what image should be displayed here. So it's the Google image. There we go. There's a Google image. Use the Google image, display it as a PNG because that's the extension. And instead of the alternative text, the image will appear. So hope you understand how images work. Now, the next element they're going to teach you is a anchor tag, and that is a hyperlink. So let's just say I'm going to type in here Google, use an anchor tag. Anchor tag. So I'm going to type in here Google. There we go. There's an anchor tag. Now, by default, anchor tags are purple. They're unvisited. Going to come back to unvisited, and they're underlined. Okay. And usually when you hover over with your mouse, you're going to have that click finger. Okay. So if I click on this fellow, nothing happens. Why is this? Well, because in the attribute, you can see here, there's an href. So if you don't have this, you can type it out, automatically generating, because I do have an Emmet installed. And as I said, we're not going to start for completely zero, but we're helping ourselves using Visual Studio Code. So the href is an attribute that is usual for the anchor tag. The href will tell you where this little fellow, if I click on it, will go. So it can go to star, which is nothing. Just going to click on it and it's going to refresh our page. Here, star. We can go to // and home. It's save. And if you click on Google now, it's going to tell us that cannot get home. Why is that? Well, because there's no such thing. But what we can do is type in https column / google.com. Save this. Oh, sorry, / always end in /. If I click on this little fellow right here, it's going to send me to Google. So let's go back and let me show you another attribute of this, the left part of the anchor tag, and that is the target. So the target, just type in target. The target is basically where we're sending our fellow visitors. So if I'm sending them to google.com, there's a couple of possibilities how the page can open. It can open as a parent, self, top, or usually we're using blank. I'm going to show you blank first of all. Blank. This means that, and hit save, always hit save. If I open now this page, it's going to open it in a new tab. Boom, there we go. Okay, page is still open, Google is open. I cannot go back because there was nothing before this, but this is the way we can send on our website visitors to different websites without closing our website. Okay, now if you use any kind of other options, you're just going to open it on your website, it's going to open it in a different window and so on and so on. So I'm not going to go into details, this is just a crash course. Okay, next up, list items. Go away, fly. List items are extremely useful. So first of all, a list item is composed out of a list tag. There are two kinds of lists. There are unordered and ordered lists. So let me first of all show you a ordered list. So OL stands for ordered list, opening and closing tag, as you can see it right there. Now, only if I only type in OL, nothing happens because I need list items. So in order to create a list item, you type in LI. This has an opening and a closing tag, of course. And now between the two tags, we can type in item 1. Okay, hit save. Let's see here, item item 1. But there's also a 1 before that. Why is that? Due to the fact that I have here a ordered list, and if I copy this and paste it, and let's do a 3, doesn't matter what you name it, area 51, that's it. It's going to be automatically renamed and numerated as an ordered list. If you want to do a unordered list, so without a specific order, you change the O to a U. Hit save, and you're going to have those dots instead of numbers. Very simple, isn't it? These are extremely helpful when you have lists, of course, but actually when you're creating navigation within your website, navigation to different websites, and also in React, and we're not going to come to React. Next video is not React, relax, which is a JavaScript framework. Then you can use it to create amazing stuff. Not going to talk about it right now, but we're going to get to React crash course. So that's the way we create lists. Lists are extremely useful, either to enumerate or just to have navigations in them. So let's move on to the most commonly used tag in HTML, and that is the div. So the div is it's a nothing. It's a division tag. So in this case, you can see that everything that I typed in is cascading because they're block elements. If I now type in here something, then you're going to see it like this. And if I copy and paste this, then you're going to see it underneath of it. And divs have, basically no padding, no margin added to it. We're going to talk about that later on when we're going to learn about CSS. But I'm going to do one little thing here. Right click on your website and hit on this inspect. Now this is going to open something bizarre to you. It's basically going to open your code. You can do this on any website. If I go here to Google, right click, inspect, going to inspect for me Google. You can see, whoa, there's a lot of programming for just a simple website. Yes, it is. And yes, we're going to learn all about it, but not right now. So let's go back to our website. So what this basically does is going to tell you exactly how your code looks. You can see that in the head, where we typed in the head, nothing is displayed in our website, on our web page, but everything that we have in our body is displayed here. Now, if I hover over these elements, you can see that there's a blue and a orange box around it. The orange box, close this one up, the orange box, I'm going to drag this to the side, is the margin. So I have body selected. This is my body now. It has 8 pixels of margin all around it. It has no border and it has no padding, and the content is 480 by 608. If I mess around with it, you can see that it's increasing, only the width, not the height. Now, a H1 has more margin, you can see down here, than an H2, and then an H3, and so on and so on. Paragraph tag has the same margin as, I believe, a H4. No, it has less. It's different, but it has the same text height as a H4. Now, right here where it says what kind of element this is, these are the properties of an element. This is CSS. So it's displayed as block. All H1s or header tags are displayed as 1. All paragraph tags are displayed as block. Sorry, not as 1. All image tags are displayed as overflow. All ordered and unordered lists are displayed as block, and so are also all division tags. Now, if I change the last one into a small tag, S is going to change the size. You can see this is smaller, but this also has another attribute, or it doesn't have. It is displayed as inline. So if I create here another small tag, it's not going to be displayed underneath of it. So let's do this, a lorem ipsum, and this we're going to do a Norbert. And Norbert with a T is not going to be displayed underneath the lorem ipsum, but it's going to be displayed in the same line. It's inline. So that's the difference. Some tags are block tags, some tags are inline tags. You're going to learn this extremely quickly, but their properties are really important. Now, you can also include tags into different tags. For example, I could take all of these small tags and cut them out and move them, and to replace it, into this division tag, content division tag. So what I can do now is create here, add a property of style, and I'm going to say that the style of this is going to be as following, with a background color. And we're going to take here purple. Background color is extremely ugly, I know, and we have too many dots here. So a purple background color, and now I'm going to change the small tag. We're going to change the style and color. That color refers only to the text. We're going to change this to aqua blue, and then this fellow right here, just going to take the style and color and copy it, add it down here, and change this to yellow. Okay, so Norbert is now yellow, everything else is white, and the background is blue. Simple as that. Now, without having this wrapped, these two small tags wrapped in a div tag, I couldn't add background color. I would have had to add background color to both of them, but using the content division tag div, I just added a background color to only one of them. So I'm going to close this one up right now, make this smaller, and get back to our part 3, which is styling. Now, I'm going to give you a CSS file. So the code for this is on my blog post. It's in the description below, as I said. Now, in order to add style, you can do this inline style, but it's annoying. In order to add style to elements, you can create a CSS file. Let's go into our folder here, create a new file, call it style.css. This is commonly called style, okay? Now, in order to use this file, you need to first of all go into HTML. As I said, there's a place where we can include elements and they're not going to be displayed it, and that is where we're going to include our style. So we're going to type in here a link to our CSS file. So we're going to use the link tag, open link. We're going to first of all add the referral. This is going to name the relationship of the linked document to the current document, and we're going to say that this is a style sheet, and then we're going to add the source from where it's going to take its information. So we're going to use a href property, and we're going to say style.css. Don't forget, we need to add the extension. Okay, now having this linked, nothing happens because it didn't have any style. We can copy the code and just paste it in right here, and after I just hit save, you can see how many things just changed. Now first of all, the background color. Now what I can do it other way around. I'm going to cut this out, paste it in here, and change the background color to 333. I'm going to add a dark color to my background and a white color to my text. Also right here, the font family, I changed it to Arial and serif. If I comment this out, hold down Control / going to comment this out, see the style changing of the text. We comment this back in, going to change the effect of the page. Now also my first H1, or my only H1, has now the color of blue. If I change this here, then it's going to change it to the H2. Now this is the way we're targeting tags, but more about this when we're going to come up to our CSS crash course. The way we're targeting tags is by going to the CSS file, type out the tag name, and then you can type in the attributes. More about the attributes in the CSS crash course. So we just added to the paragraph tag that it has a 16 pixel height. Now if I change this to, let's do a double, so 32. This is our paragraph tag. Hit save. You're going to see the font size increasing. Also change the color from here, color red, and boom, color is now red. We can also manipulate images. Each and every tag can be manipulated using CSS. More about CSS later on. So I'm going to close this. We just learned how to create a CSS file, add some code to it by copy and pasting it, and then link it up to a HTML file in order to take effect. Now, next up, we're going to talk about IDs, classes, and attributes. First of all, HTML elements can have attributes. You already saw a couple of them: source, href, so far and so on. Now, there are a couple of unique attributes. For example, the first one is the ID. Now, the ID attribute is a unique identifier of an element in a page. So let's say I have multiple LIs here. Now, the first LI, although it has the text of text 1, let's say they all have the same text. So if I take this item, this is Control and D is going to select in a cascading way everything that you have. So I'm going to delete here everything and type in just text. Okay, so there's no way of knowing which one of them is the third or the first or so on. So in order to target them, in order to have unique identifiers, there's an attribute called ID, okay, equal, and whatever you type in between these two quotation marks will be the identifier. It's kind of your serial number, your social security code. Okay, so it's a unique identifier for that element. Now you can add, let's say this is item -1, you can add this unique identifier to multiple elements, but I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest that you always have only one unique identifier. So I'm going to change this to 2. Now in order to target them, well, you can target them in here, but normally what we would do is open up a CSS file, and within here we can now target, and where I'm going to go down here. In order to target an ID, you just have to type out the ID name, but when we're defining IDs, we're using the asterisk sign. So this, the way CSS knows that we actually target an ID, and we're going to take item 1 and change the color to yellow. And there we go, already takes effect. So only item 1 was affected. If I target all of the LIs and change them to color blue, all of them excepting the item with ID 1 will be changed to blue. Now there's something called hierarchy. Hierarchy is, or specificity actually, because if I type in here LI once again and color green, all of my LIs list items will turn on green, but the item with the ID of item 1 will still stay yellow. Now why did they just turn to green from blue, but item number 1 is still yellow? This is specificity. A ID is more specific than a tag name. If you write something in CSS, I'm going to talk more about this in our CSS crash course. Write something in CSS is cascading style sheet. That's what CSS stands for. So you're writing your code from the top to the bottom. And if I want to override something, well, I'm just going to change it here. But if you mistakenly, that's actually the right explanation. If you write 20,000 of lines of code, and again you write LI is now red, color and red, then you're going to turn everything into red. Okay, enough about this. Let's move now to classes. So we're going to go back to our HTML document. We're going to go here to classes, not here to classes. We're going to add now classes to our, for example, paragraph tag. Let's take our paragraph tag right here. In order to add a class, space, type in class, and within the quotation marks, we're going to type out the class name. So let's say text. That's it. Now let's go into CSS. Let's target that paragraph tag. Now in order to target the class, we're going to use the dot and the name of the class text. The dot tells CSS that this little name here is actually a class. So if I do here a background color and white, then that paragraph tag will have a white background color. Simple as that. Okay, so I targeted the paragraph tag with the text of class and I turned its background color to white. Next up, let's quickly talk about style. So you saw here that I added inline style to my content division tag, to this little fellow right here. So before CSS, this is the way we styled elements. Pretty awful. Because if you start styling, writing here a bunch of code, it's going to confuse your code. And I'm going to come back to this. So what programmers did is the separation of concerns approach, which is create an HTML file, create a CSS file, create a JavaScript file in order to separate it. Because I could write here CSS and JavaScript in the same file. Pretty easy. I just have to open a script tag and start writing JavaScript. It would be applied. But then we messed everything up with frameworks and we packed everything back into one huge mess. But more about that when we're going to come to frameworks. So usually when you're only programming with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you have your each independent files, which does each independent things. You're creating structure using HTML, you're creating style using CSS, you're commenting dynamic using JavaScript. Okay, now let's move on to a couple of additional HTML important tags, which are, for example, the form tag. So we're going to, in order to create a form tag, just type in here form. This opens and close, so it has an opening and a closing tag. Now the action of the form is usually to submit with your information, of course, and the method, which is also a property, is to post. Or let's just click right here. So you have multiple methods. One is to let's see here. So get, add, post, put, delete, trace, connect, so on and so on. More about this in HTTP methods. But for now, just remember that's what you can do with that's what the method stands for, because it does something. The form posts then information to a database, and the action of the form is to submit that information. Okay, now between the form tags, because if you hit save, you can't see anything, we need to add some kind of information. Now you did see here when we had our Google open that this fellow right here is a search bar. This is what we call an input tag, and there's no explanation here on what you should do because we are in 2025, so you kind of know that how to search in Google. But let's say you need to enter your name here and you don't know that. Why? Well, because you're missing a label tag. So this is what label tags do. They tell us more about the form. So create a label tag. It has an opening and a closing tag, and between those two tags, we're going to type in here name. So if I hit save, you're going to see down here, a name. I'm just going to quickly create here a div and style, hit margin, bottom of 5 rem. I'm going to push everything up. You know what? I'm going to add this to the body. So I'm going to cut it off from here, delete this, go to my body tag. By the way, you adding attributes to the opening tag. Okay, so this is going to give me some more workspace here. Perfect. Now after our name tag, we're going to create now a input field. So input. Now a input tag has a, by the way, this is a self-closing tag. It has a type. Now if I leave it as text, you're going to see this little fellow. And I can type in here any kind of text. If I change this to time, it's going to change to a clock. I can actually choose here clock. If I change this to date, I'm going to change it to a date picker. If I change this to date time, I could also change the time and the date. Now, if I change this to number, I can no longer type in here text, only numbers. So this is what input tags do. By the way, if you don't add the type to the input tag, it's going to assume automatically there is a text. So I can add numbers and text to it. Let's change this back to text. And now our user can type in here its name. They're going to type in here Norbert. In order to submit this information, he's going to need a type of submit action. And that is where buttons come into play. It has an opening and a closing tag. I'm going to type in here submit. So this is just the text of the button as we displayed here. You can also type in here go, and it's going to change to go. But I'm going to do a Control Z and leave it as submit. Now if I click now on this submit button, it's automatically going to submit my text, my form. Now in order to explicitly tell it what to do, you could add to this button the type. Now if I add to this button the type of submit, which is its default option, then it's going to submit the form. If I now change the type to a button, then it's just going to do nothing. But this is very important because you can also add here a button as cancel or close and leave this as submit and type in submit. So one of them is going to do nothing. Actually, to close the form, we have a button that is opening and then is going to change this into closing the form. And then one button that's going to actually submit the form, or is going to go back or delete or do whatever you want. You have multiple buttons. So buttons, input, label, form. Of course, you can use buttons everywhere. Everything that you see on the website is most likely a button. For example, go search will toggle the search bar is going to lead you wherever you want to go. Search for that, or I feel lucky with written there, but I'm a German language. We'll do something else. So it's not going to submit this, or it's going to open up something, a color picker. That's also cool. Okay, now let's move on. One interesting, not so much used, but depending on what you're coding, you are going to use it, is a table. So table is the way you define a table tag. A table has a table head and it has a table body, but it's mostly composed out of table rows, which have table header cells in there. So let's just say that this is a name. I'm going to copy this and type in here an age. Hit save. I'm going to go to our website. You can see down here that we have a name and we have an age. Now a new table row will create of course, a new row, but now we're going to use a TD, which just represents a data cell. And we're going to type in here Norbert b.m. Hit save. And it's going to be pushed down here underneath the name. Now let's copy this and let's say that Norbert is 38 and it's going to go underneath of age. If I want to type in another fellow underneath of me, let's say subscriber, which is you right there, and age is NA. I don't know how old you are. I don't want to know. I just want you to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll get notified whenever you post videos like this. So that's the way we create tables. More about tables in my complete HTML course if you want to check that one out. Now I'm going to copy here a bit of a code and explain everything to you. So let's say we have a navigation bar right here with a home, about, and a content. Click on them. Each of them is going to refresh the page. But what they could do is also lead us to certain portions of the web page. Now for this, IDs are pretty good. And let's say item-1. Now, you know what? I'm going to move. No, let's do something else. When I click on about, it's actually going to center it to that item 1. Now we also have here an article. Usually in articles, you write some kind of article. We have a footer. Footer is a tag that is usually placed in the footer of the page. Now, why do we give these tags names? Why don't we just use content division tags? Because web crawlers, when your web page is crawled by a web crawler, this is going to know what your page is about. Is exactly this what it reads. It reads the structure of your page. And it understands that the page is written in a English language. It has a body, it has a table in it, it has navigation, it has a footer, and then it's going to go into content. And this is really important for SEO, which ranks your page down later on. Now, also I'm going to just copy and paste a bit of style here in our CSS file. Go down here, paste it in, and there we go. You can see that the content, the footer is now overlapping the entire page. This is going to always stay on top. We have different colors for our titles, and our navigation bar is now, if I hover over one of those elements, is going to change its background color, and it's displayed in a horizontal way because this is now being displayed as float to the left and so on and so on. So this is how HTML works. So in conclusion, you've just completed a basic HTML crash course. Hope you enjoyed it. It has covered all of the essential elements that we actually use in a HTML website. Now, by mastering HTML, you can build and design websites with structured content and of course style. Now, I would suggest keep practicing. Check out my YouTube channel and also follow this specific playlist because I'm going to keep adding to it. Upcoming next is a CSS crash course. Then we're going to do a couple of projects. Then we're going to jump into a JavaScript crash course. Then we're going to do a bunch of projects. Then we're going to jump into a little bit of Bootstrap, a little bit of Tailwind CSS. Then we're going to jump into a framework, also multiple frameworks, and so on and so on. So keep following this little playlist that I created. It's going to definitely bring you a lot of value. Now, if you want more, if you want some complete courses, check out the links down in the video description below. I have complete courses on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, complete web development courses, complete courses on Bootstrap. I'm currently working on a Tailwind CSS course, so on and so on. Not going to keep you. See you in the next one. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I'm Norbert BM, and I teach web development. Keep coding. Catch you next time. Bye bye.